Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes. Welcome to the show.
Here we are, morning.
Good morning. And I know you wanted to talk today about questions to ask when buying a house.
Yeah, so we all assume every buyer knows what to do when they're buying.
You would think, yes. I
You
mean,
wanna
it's-
buy.
Yeah, you want to buy. Location. I want to have the perfect home. My thing was, when I would look at a home, if I could visualize like me, my wife, and kids in the front yard, walking into the front door, the dog is following, stuff like that. If almost like if it was a scene out of a movie.
Well, and it's funny, some of the old real estate training we had, that's real. You need to paint the picture. Can you see yourself in this house?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
more analytical and more statistical.
Yeah, you are. Yes, no, you are. But you are. So,
I am. Does it check your blocks?
Yeah.
Does it check your boxes? And
Yeah.
I guess that's the real thing that I want to get out to buyers is have a definition of what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy a house. Okay. Great.
Do you want to buy a house in Warsaw, in North Webster, in Syracuse?
You just mentioned one of the factors, location.
Yeah.
What about proximity to work? I want to live in Warsaw, but I work in Indianapolis.
Well, that's
Am I willing to drive 2 hours every day?
right.
All those things come in. So location,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably an important piece.
Yep.
Obviously, price is significant.
Yep.
Other features related to the house, maybe bedrooms, maybe bathrooms,
Mm-hmm.
schools. Those
Yeah.
are important.
Mhm.
I'm in the right school. If you're looking for a lake property, is it a ski lake? Is it a non-ski lake?
Right.
So define your priorities in what you're looking to buy a home for.
Mm-hmm.
What are your needs? What are your wants? What are your needs? What are your gotta haves? What are you? It's a nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
So many times I get buyers that, well, I want to buy a house and I'm pre-approved for X, but I don't want to spend X. I want to spend less. Well, of course, just like last week we talked about, every seller wants to sell for the most.
Of course.
Every
Yep.
buyer wants to buy for the least.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're pre-approved for X, let's say 200,000,
Okay.
and you're looking at $100,000 houses,
Mm-hmm.
there is a big difference between a $100,000 house and a $200,000
Yes,
house.
for sure.
In today's market, a $100,000 house is probably not livable.
Yeah, it's
It probably isn't, unless it's like a one bedroom, very small.
yeah.
So again, that comes back to your criteria. If I need, because I have 2 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I need a 3-bedroom home, why would I look at a 1-bedroom home?
Right.
Just because the price is where I want it to
Yeah.
be.
Not feasible.
Right? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So if you're pre-approved for 200,000, what are you doing looking at $100,000 houses? Well, I want to get a deal. I can put sweat equity into it. Well, that's all well and good, but what type of financing are you using? That's
Yeah.
where all those other questions, where an agent's going to lead you down that path. Well, what are you doing? How are you financing it? What's your long-term goal? What's your objective? And that really, for us, is part of that, guiding them through. And yes, I'm probably over-analytical, over-statistical, over-process-driven,
Mm-hmm.
but it's worked for 20 years for me, and it's
Mhm.
helped a lot of people get into houses.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean there aren't other methods, but the Mark method is, let's put down on a sheet of paper, if nothing else, these are the things that I want. It's not unusual, or you really need to share that with your agent so they can help you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to share what you really want, what's your objective with the agent so that they can help you through that process. Now, you may not like the answer you get,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard that before. Well, I'd like to buy a lakefront. I had a guy last week. I'd like to buy a lakefront on Lake Tippecanoe for $150,000.
Oh, that'd be great. If you get that, let me know.
That me too.
Yeah.
You and everybody else.
Yes.
Right now, doesn't know the market.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's their budget. I get it, and I'm negative Nelly, dream crasher, whatever you want to call it. But as an agent, I need to tell them, well, realistically, and I did. Diplomatically, I said, well, unfortunately, on Lake Tippecanoe, it's unlikely you're going to find if not impossible to find, when channel front, just vacant ground is
I was
selling
going to
for
say, yeah.
$250.
I was going to say you
to
might find a lot.
$300.
Maybe.
Unlikely
Yeah.
you're going to find
Yeah.
a home lakefront on Tippecanoe.
Yeah.
But we have alternatives. There are other lakes in the
Mhm.
area that may be a fit for you.
Yeah.
And then go down that path. Well, but if you're set in stone, I'm going to be on Lake Tippecanoe, well, then you need to be realistic with your budget on what you're going to do on Lake Tippecanoe or
Mhm.
Winona Lake or Webster Lake or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And again, that's where working with an agent can be helpful
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that. They'll help educate you on the process, but from a buyer's standpoint, you need to be able to clearly state, what am I looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Many times it's just price. And I can tell you, I'll let out the dirty little secret. Agents know when we've got a price buyer. When I say a price buyer, there is no other criteria other than price,
Mhm.
because they're sending us listings, because they are using Zillow and Realtor.com and
Sure.
Homes.com, and they're searching, and they got family members searching. Hey, this is in your price range. It may be 100 miles away, but so we're getting those.
Yeah.
You haven't focused your geographic area. We
Yeah.
know that all you're doing is trying to buy on price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that isn't a good strategy if your long-term objective or your short-term objective is to purchase a home in the near future.
Mhm.
And after the break, we'll talk about some other things that buyers should and shouldn't do when it comes to the buying process.
All right, you're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman. This is Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes, and we're talking about questions to ask when buying a home.
Yeah, so we just hit just before the break on location,
That's a big one.
right? That's a big one. Price is obviously
Yeah, that's
out
a big
there.
one. Yep.
What are things that are non-negotiable? I have to have those in a home. Is air conditioning non-negotiable? For some people, yes. But what I would say is it can always be added. There is a
Mhm.
way in
Right.
general to add air conditioning in. At what price? I understand that.
Sure.
But my advice is not to use air conditioning as a search criteria. Because what if there's a perfect home for you that meets all your other squares, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have air, and if you added air, you've got the home that
Yeah.
meets all of your wants and needs.
Yeah.
So don't use AC as a criteria. Fenced yard.
Again, you can add a fence.
You can add a fence. I've had people, well, I'm not buying a house because fences are expensive. Well, yes, I understand. Well, I won't have the money to put a fence in right away.
Well,
I understand that as well. And if that is non-negotiable, I get it. But I typically counsel it's probably not a good idea to do that unless, well, I've got 3 pit bulls and they've got to be in a fenced-in yard. You know, for safety, they're friendly. I get all that. They're friendly, but I
Yeah.
need a fenced yard. I'm with you. Okay,
Okay.
let's get you a fenced yard. It's a liability issue at that point.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
And safety and security of your animal. So totally understand that. But I guess my point to this discussion is don't discount things that can ultimately be added in down the road.
Right.
Now, if you need, 2,000 square feet, I'm not saying, well, look at 1,000 square foot, because you can always add 1,000 square foot.
Right. No.
Because that's probably not in the cards. But when there's features, things like that, you may be able to add them at a reasonable price down the road. Maybe it's hey, I'd love to have air, but you know what? We're Indiana. It's not a requirement for financing.
Yep.
Maybe you can survive. I grew up with no air,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, we didn't have air in our house.
Half of our lives. We didn't
have, and I'm that crotchety old guy. I
Yeah.
didn't have air. Why should you have to have it? Well,
Yeah.
I get it. I don't want to live in a house without air either.
No.
But if I need to add it, I can always add it.
Mhm.
So I guess that's really what I'm talking about is make sure that you've got a clear definition of what you want. So location, price, bedrooms, baths, schools, those things, make sure to let your agent know. So I'm really saying pinpoint or narrow down your geography,
Mhm.
right? Because the market in Warsaw and the market in Wabash are 2 totally different markets. Home prices in Wabash are cheaper for a reason,
Mhm.
right? They just are. But if you work in Warsaw, do you want to drive from Wabash to Warsaw every day?
Right.
Maybe you do. Maybe you're okay
Yeah.
with
Maybe
that.
you're okay with that.
Maybe you're okay with that, but I at least need to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
My partner has been working with a couple. They were all over the map. They were Syracuse to Peru.
Mm.
and they were price buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were looking for $150,000, $160,000 homes, Syracuse to Peru. I mean, ultimately they bought in Peru. Home prices are less in Peru.
Yeah.
But that's what they could afford. They were willing to give that up, the location. They were willing to take it because they found a home that met their other requirements in Peru.
Okay.
It's a long ways to drive.
I was going to say, it's a lot. Yeah, you're spending a lot of money in
You
gas.
spend operational costs
Right.
increase
Right.
over your housing costs,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that when gas goes up to $4.50 a gallon, which we hope, I'm not hoping that, but
Right.
if it did,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're burning lots of fuel back and
Mhm.
forth. It's so ultimately you need to define what you're looking for. It is not always just price.
Well, yeah.
When you
Yeah.
go to look at a house, what you're looking at is, will this work for me and my family?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point.
Well, and you talked about like air conditioning, but I wouldn't buy a house for, in the price range for 150,000 or whatever it may be if it's got a bad roof.
Right.
And no air conditioning.
Correct.
Furnace needs to be replaced. So there's all that mechanical stuff.
There's all the mechanical things that can add cost, and that's again the benefit of doing inspections.
Mm-hmm.
We went through a long phase where people were waiving inspections, but on the flip side of that, if it functions, if it's safe, the furnace,
Mm-hmm.
don't expect the seller to put you a brand new furnace in
Right.
because it's old. As long as it's working and safe, they've met their requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised. I'm buying a $150,000 house. I want a brand new roof. I want a brand new furnace. I want a brand new windows. If all of those things happen to be a $210,000 house,
Right,
so
right.
you have to put those in perspective. But ultimately, from a buyer's standpoint, be realistic with your expectations on pricing. Identify where you want to live geographically.
Mm-hmm.
Let your agent know the features, the things that are very important to you, and they can help you find the house that will work for you long term.
Mm-hmm. And the best thing to do is put that stuff down on paper.
Yeah, it is. The yellow, the legal pad with gotta haves and nice to haves.
Yeah.
If you need 3 bedrooms, what's the point of looking at a 1-bedroom house?
Right. It doesn't make sense.
any sense. And you'd be surprised the number of people that I've had come to me. Well, I want a ranch with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and they buy a 2-story with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Right.
Right.
Because they found something in their price range that fit, that actually they hadn't even considered a 2-story because all they wanted was a ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we age, I don't want to be in a 2-story because I don't want to be going up and down steps.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But when I was 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, didn't even have the faintest concern about
Right,
that.
exactly.
Didn't even think about it.
Yeah. All right.
So,
If you'd like to continue this conversation with Mark, please reach out to him. Mark, your contact info?
sure, the website, skabowskiteam.com. Phone numbers, 574-527-0660. Can email me, mark@skabowskiteam.com. Check out YouTube. We're out there. Real estate in real time.
All right, very good. A lot of great questions to ask when buying a home here today. Well, that is real estate in real time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.